Hello and welcome back to the Link2Feed training series. This video is going to cover how to run a statistics report in order to track your distribution numbers for the month. In this example, I'm starting from the dashboard on the test site logged into UFB Test Agency. The first step in order to run a report is to use your left-hand navigation bar and find Reports, click it, and then click New Report. This will take you to a page that shows all the different types of reports that are available on Link2Feed. You are welcome to explore and utilize as many of these reports as you would like, but I recommend and find most helpful the statistics report. Once you find statistics report, click Create New Report. The next few sections will just ask you a few different pieces of criteria for your report, so you can give it any title you would like. And it asks if you want to share with anyone, and we recommend leaving it as is, just me. We don't want you necessarily sharing this with the network because this is a statewide network. Although it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, it just clutters up people's inboxes. The section that says for the following cycle, this is where it's asking the date range for your report. So if you're running it once only, it's just going to run it right now when you're creating this report. If you make it reoccurring, it'll ask you when you want it to reoccur. But I recommend just leaving it at the once only. And for relative dates, click this drop down and select what I choose. This will let you select the date range that you're trying to run a report for. And although you can select essentially any date range you're interested in, for the most part, we recommend just selecting a full calendar month to get a view of the numbers that you're going to be reporting on your monthly report. But again, if you're creating a report for your own uses, you can select any date range that appeals to you, but make sure you do select some sort of date range, or else it'll run a report for your entire Link2Feed history and might be quite a large number that you're not expecting. The next section will ask you for the organization that you want to run a report for. And since your organization is the only one you have access to, in this example, I'm UFB Test Agency. That's who I'm going to select. And you can leave these other options as they are. The next section asks what type of program you want to run a report for. So if you're wanting to run a report to look at your TFAP numbers, you select that box. If you're running a CSFP program, you can select that box. And if you use Link2Feed to track additional programs that might not necessarily be related to TFAP or CSFP, you can select that pantry option. For this example, I'm going to run a TFAP report. The last section is where it's asking you what type of information you want to look at. So it gives you essentially all the different pieces of information that exist on a client profile. And so this is a benefit of making sure that you're creating as complete profiles as possible, because then you can run a report on those numbers and could potentially be useful for grant writing opportunities. So keep that in mind when creating profiles and also when running reports, that this is useful information that you can use to share the services that you provide and the impact that you're making. For the sake of running a monthly report that you might be comparing to submit to United Food Bank, we always want to look at the number of households and individuals served, as well as the number of food boxes provided. So I'm going to find this served button here. And if you click this little arrow on the left-hand side, it's very small, but if you click it, it will expand the options. So then you will see you have the duplicated option and the unique option. The difference between these two options is that duplicated will count every single visit, no matter how many times the same person visits your food bank. and unique will count at just one, no matter how many times they visit your food bank. So for example, if John Doe goes to UFB test agency 3 times in a month, the duplicated count will be 3, but the unique count will be 1 because he's just one person, regardless of how often he's visited. If you select this top box, it'll just automatically select both options for you. But if you want to be specific as to which one you're checking, don't forget to click the little arrow and then served, households, individuals, duplicated. The next option that you typically want to look at in a report is the number of food boxes you provide. And so that's going to be in the visits option. And again, if you click this tiny little arrow, you'll see all the different options. Again, if you check the box, it will select it all. But the most important is visits food provided, this second option on the list here. So as always, you're welcome to select any and all of these boxes that interest you, especially if you want to track all your different services and the impact you're making. But for the sake of reports and comparing with your monthly inventory and participation report, served, households, individuals duplicated, and visits food provided are the 2 key options. So when you have all of your information and report criteria selected, you can click Create Report. And it will take you to your report inbox where it looks like we have some other test reports that have been created in here. When the report name is black, that means it's not quite ready yet and it's still thinking about it. But if you come up to the top of your web page and refresh the page, it's usually ready fairly quickly. And now it's a blue link that you can click to view your report. So now I can see this information at the top here outlines the criteria that I selected when I created the report. I did a TFAB report for April, and here are my results. So not a whole lot of information in this test database. Served 1 household and 3 individuals with 1 box. If there's more info, it will reflect that, obviously. You can print this page, you can download it to an Excel file, or you can leave it right here on the screen and just refer to it. If you want to go back to your report inbox, you can come back to your navigation bar and click Reports, Report Inbox. And so if you're wanting to get rid of old reports, you can click the trash can and that will delete it and just kind of clean up your inbox. If you like to have things nice and tidy. And if you come back the next month and want to rerun a report that matches the same criteria, you can create a template for that report. So to do so, I'm going to click New Report to create a new one here. Find my statistics report. And since I know I'm making a template, I'm going to call this monthly report template. Leaving it just for me, and relative dates, I'm going to set it for last month, but that can be edited when you're using the template. So you can kind of select whatever makes sense in this option as we're creating the template. Again, you select you and the program that you're probably going to be running for. I'm going to find these steps that we just followed. But instead of clicking Create Report, I'm going to click Save Template. And so now I have a template created for this report. So every time I want to do a monthly statistics report, I don't have to remember all those little boxes to check. If I'm coming from my dashboard, I'm logging in, I want to run a report, I can click Reports, Report Templates. And to use this template, I'm going to click this middle button over here on the right-hand side. When I hover over it, it says Create Report, and that will let me use the template. If I want to edit the template, I can use this little blue pencil symbol. And if I don't want the template anymore, I can delete it with the trash can. But if I'm going to use the template, I can click that. And it has those details saved for me. It's probably worth updating the date, because if you have a template set for the same date, it won't update automatically. So be sure to change the date, but then everything else is already checked for you. See those options? And so once you update the date, you can click create report and you have a nice, easy template to make your monthly reporting easy and straightforward.